CSX Sports here with Matchroom's Eddie Hearn. Eddie, welcome to Belfast.
Thank you for having me.
How you doing?
I'm feeling unbelievable.
Just want to start off by, there's been plenty of talk with Madison Square Gardens. There was Belfast announced, and everyone knows Belfast is a major city for boxing, and it ended up settling, and the fight's going ahead in Nottingham on the 12th. How did that come about in Nottingham?
Well, I think with Madison Square Garden, obviously we're focusing to the Taylor Serrano fight there for April. I didn't really want to go there with two big Irish fights sort of back to back within a month. Then we thought about coming to Belfast, but obviously we represent Leigh Wood, and we won the purse bid. So I knew that both capacities are the same, about 9,000. Both gates are the same in terms of the revenue, and I knew that Belfast would send 2,000 or 3,000 or probably more travelling fans there as well. So we took the decision with Nottingham. Tickets are selling like hotcakes. The atmosphere is going to be unbelievable, and I think it's worked out well.
And I think that holds about 9,000, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Michael's bound to bring about a good 4 or 5.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I think away days are great. I remember the fun that everybody had with Frampton Quig, apart from me. This is going to be another occasion where the Irish fans are coming over in their numbers. And I remember the same arena as where we held Froch Butte 10 years ago. And Butte brought 500 Romanian fans, and it was a great atmosphere. So this is going to be an atmosphere you won't forget.
Yeah, and there's usually nothing louder than a little Belfast, so especially when they got a few beers in them.
For sure.
They're even louder. We've seen just there that Leigh says through his career, he's found it hard. He's never got anything handed to him. He's never came from a boxing family. He's had the gravel for it. What do you expect from the fight altogether?
I think it'll be a tremendous fight. I mean, firstly, it's a life-changing moment for Leigh Wood. But there's so much more at stake for the winner. So obviously 2 weeks after this fight, you've got Josh Warrington against Kiko Martinez. The winners can fight the winners in a huge unification fight for a huge amount of money, at a stadium.
So do you think if Michael Conlan wins this one and Kiko beats Josh?
Yeah, you could have, back in Belfast. Kiko's a big name in Belfast.
Yeah, he doesn't mean coming to Belfast, does he?
Listen, you could do that fight. Leigh Wood against Josh Warrington at the City Ground or at Leeds. Conlan against Josh Warrington and Leeds or in Belfast. I mean, they're just massive fights. So neither guy is looking past that fight, but there's so much on the line. So in terms of the fight itself, you've got Michael Conlan, who's exciting, explosive, but you've got Leigh Wood, who punches really hard. And he's got one-punch knockout power, and it's always exciting when you're in that kind of fight. I think it's going to be a tough fight for both guys.
Yeah, so it's no one's really going in his favourite, are they?
No, I think it's a 50-50 fight. And there's unanswered questions about Michael as a pro. It's not his fault, but he's never had to go through the levels of the current Leigh Wood and also the adversity that might happen. And, he's got...
Is that due to Michael's ability, or am I being a wee bit biased?
I think he's matchmaking. I think he's never really had a tough fight. It was a good win against... last time out against TJ Dehenny, but, he hadn't boxed for a while and suffered a defeat, etc. So Leigh Wood is unquestionably the toughest fight of Michael Conlan's career so far.
Yeah, it sets Michael up for big things if he comes through this, especially for Belfast. With losing Carl Frampton, the retirement, Michael kind of has to take the baton.
Yeah, I think, look, you got the freakish fan base of Carl Frampton and Michael Conlan, and then you've got other fighters that are coming through, some of which, came through. Ryan Burnett, a good example of that. Obviously, his career was cut short. He was on the verge of building up to a sizable name like those guys. And now you've got Kevin Agyarko, who hasn't got yet the fan base of a Carl Frampton, but has loads of ability. And special fighter. And he's a middleweight. So you've got Carl Frampton was a super bantam and Conlan's a super bantam going to feather. Now you've got a middleweight that can bring big title fights to Belfast. But he's only 10-0. If he had it his way, he'd be in those big fights now at the Odyssey. But we've got to build him in the right way.
And you mentioned Katie Taylor there. Is there sort of a chance, if she comes through that fight, to get a big homecoming? Maybe Dublin? Or?
Yeah, I mean, look, we may end up doing a second Serrano fight. Who knows? But obviously Madison Square Garden is the target for April. And I would love to see her fight in Ireland before the end of her career, because it would be a travesty if she didn't.
Yeah, it's just kind of the biggest thing that's come out of Ireland, really.
Yeah.
When you look at what she's won and what she's done for the sport of boxing, women's boxing.
Legend.
Brilliant. What's it been like working with Jake Paul?
Good, actually. I mean, look, I did Jake Paul's debut. Not a lot of people know that. And I think that he has got the bit between his teeth to try and show the boxing world that he wants to do good for the boxing world. And he wants to be, probably selfishly as well, responsible for delivering the biggest female fight of all time. I do as well. So you got two guys with massive egos that are obsessed to make this fight as big as possible, and we're going to do a great job promoting it. So he's been good, and he's going to bring new eyeballs to the fight.
I think most people see Jake Paul as a bit of a joker, but he tends to take it a wee bit serious.
Well, he's a joker, but he's training hard. He's putting the effort in, and he's a smart guy. You're not always going to like him, and sometimes he comes across like a right plonker. But I know him. I quite like the guy, and I think he's smart. And you can't knock what he's doing.
Yeah, sometimes for boxing that's pretty good. One bit of talk is
sure. Talk is good. Talk is good.
And just while we have you here, is there anything more about AJ and Usyk?
No, I mean I get that question a million times a day. Nothing really to report. Obviously, I think the likely scenario is AJ against Usyk 2 and Fury against White, but we'll see what happens.
Just while we're touching on boxers further afield, what do you think the next step for Canelo is?
So many options. He can defend his undisputed at 168. He can move up and challenge for another light heavyweight belt. You've got the cruiserweight fight there as well. It really just comes down to what him and Eddie Reynoso fancy, what motivates them. He's got everything. He's got the money. He's got legacy. He doesn't fight for that now. He fights for challenges. And, we'll see what he does next.
Yeah, there's not many challenges out there for him, is there? He's
just another legend,
away.
Tremendous fighter.
Yeah, it's just a matter of how big he can get, isn't it, really? Well, look, Eddie, I'm just going to cut it there. Thank you for talking to CSX Sports. Just want to keep it short and sweet and then let you get on with your day.
Well, it wasn't that short, but thank you.
What's that?
Wasn't that short.
Come on now, you're only 2 minutes or so.
Thank you.